Hello, people of YouTube. This is Financially Ruined. I am Steve Gray, your host. Thank you for watching. Today we are talking about brands, more specifically brand loyalty, and how it is probably destroying your wallet. Some of you may have never seen one of these. This is the last Generation 7 iPod Classic. Still working, still going, Apple product, tried and true. The battery is swelling. That's why there's a little bit of a line in there. Eventually, I should pop this open and replace the battery. But honestly, I only use this to wake me up in the morning. I have it on an old alarm clock. I'm an old-fashioned type of person. Put this on the alarm clock. It plays a random song that's on shuffle, and I don't bring this with me anywhere. It just stays next to my bed and my alarm clock. But brand loyalty may be killing your wallet. For instance, this iPod still works, so you could say Apple's a good brand because this thing is over 10 years old and still chugging along. iPhones work very well up until the point where Apple decides to update them out of existence because they can't get the newest update in firmware, and then it basically bricks your phone. And the same can be said about the computers as well. Now, if you compare it to just a regular MP3 player, you can get a regular MP3 player right now for like $50. Probably has way more gigabytes than this thing does, and you're good to go. And let's be realistic, nobody's buying an MP3 player this day and age. Everybody's using their phone for music. Spotify, maybe Pandora still, maybe Pandora. But realistically, your phone. Let's just be honest. No one's using an iPod anymore. But they beat out Zune. And in terms of specifications, if you know what a Zune is, which you probably don't either, that was the Microsoft iPod back in today. And arguably, they were designed better. They were cool looking. They were sleek. They had more features. But Apple beat them out because of brand loyalty. And in terms of price point, they were cheaper than the iPod at the time, too. So brand loyalty can be destroying your wallet in certain cases. Let's go to the food market. Let's talk about peanut butter, because a lot of you love peanut butter, including myself. The three major brands for peanut butter are going to be Jif, Skippy, and Peter Pan. You know what the difference is between the three? I don't, because they're all essentially the same ingredients. You know what the difference is between those three and Great Value Walmart brand peanut butter? Pretty much nothing, except it's significantly less expensive. You got to get your mind out of the mindset. Cereal, too, if you're a big cereal person. General Mills, Post. Most of these off-brand cereals, you go to a store like Aldi's, they are made in the same manufacturers, or in, a store brand cereal, whatever the heck they call them, Cheerios, I don't know, Frosted Flukes, Honey Nut Cheerios, sure, we'll pretend that's the name of them, it's not. They're called Honey Oats, I think that's what they call them, Honey Oats. It's the same exact thing. It is the same exact thing, made in the same exact factory, except it's cheaper because it's not name brand. And that goes for a lot of things. But the thing is, you have to do your homework. Because some of the stuff that's not name brand is just straight up garbage. Let's be honest. You go, especially, you look at like paper towels. You get the cheapest of the cheap paper towels. You end up using half of the roll for one mess. You use something like Bounty, 2 sheets, you're good to go because it's thicker. Same with toilet paper. You get that crappy paper-thin Scott toilet paper versus something like Charmin Plush. You're using half the roll of Scott and you're using like 3 sheets of Charmin because it's just crappy and super thin and you can see through it. So you got to know what you're dealing with. You got to do your research. Just because it's an off-brand doesn't mean it's bad. And just because it's a name brand doesn't mean it's good. PCs, I have a PC, generally spec'd better and cheaper than every Apple product. But a lot of people go towards Apple because they know the brand. They're tried and true. So on and so forth. But they're not as repairable. No Apple PC is very repairable. No iPhone is super repairable. It's a whole process. And I would argue at this point, though, Android phones aren't really even better because you still got to take them to a repair tech, whole thing if you want them repaired, and it's not worth it. But just the amount of money you're spending just because it's the brand is ridiculous. Guitars, I have guitars back there. You have an Epiphone, which is the cheaper, I say that in quotation marks, of Gibson. A Gibson Les Paul made in the USA will set you back almost $3,000, where you get an Epiphone one where it's made out of the same material, same wood, different finishes, $800. So significantly less than the one that is the recognized brand. And you just got to know where to look and what's comparable. Do your research before you buy the products, and stop wasting your money on name brand peanut butter, name brand foods, name brand clothes too. A lot of these name brand clothes, they're not any better than the cheap stuff. This is some cheap JCPenney shirt that I've had for over a decade, and it's still going strong. I bought, it was like a St. Lawrence or Saint something, I don't know what it was, some fancy t-shirt, and it shrunk immediately. And I didn't even put it in the dryer. It just shrunk in the washing machine. And I did it to the instructions as well. It got faded in like 4 months. And I think now I'm using it as a rag. And that was like a $40 t-shirt. And I was like, whoa, what is the point? Why am I wasting my money on this thing? There are some name brands. Clothing, I don't know enough about to tell you the good name brands. I've heard good things about Michael Kors, but I've also heard bad things about Michael Kors. You spend $80 for a handbag that is the same exact thing in China with no logo on it, $20. So, you can't be just wasting all of your money, especially if you're broke. If you're broke and have no money, you need to look at the Great Value, the Hannaford brand, the Market 32 Price Chopper brand, the Target brand, anything that's store brand. Food-wise, as I said, most of the time it's made in the same exact factory. And look it up beforehand. I can't remember, it's like Hydrogenos or something. There's an Oreo that is exactly the same as a regular Oreo cookie, made in the same factory as Oreo, tastes exactly like an Oreo, but costs significantly less because it doesn't say Oreo on it. It's the same thing with peanut butter, cell phones, everything else. What's the difference between a $30 Android and a $1,000 iPhone that's a couple of years old? Probably nothing. Have the same cameras. It's a touchscreen. You can text, you can make phone calls, you can browse the internet, you can play video games on it, so on and so forth. And, if it's comparing it to a new one, sure, that's different because the new one is going to be faster, look prettier, and have a better camera than the $30 cheapie phone. But ultimately, they do the same thing. Same with cars, A Lamborghini versus a Honda. You still got to do the speed limit. You're still, depending on the state, you're going a max of like 85 miles an hour. And one is significantly more money to maintain. But let's be realistic. If you can afford a Lamborghini, you do not need to worry about buying name brand things or not, because you probably have enough money to do so. And this is not the video for that particular person. So, I guess there it is. There you have it. Be, cautious with your spending. Look at what's comparable. Clothing, food. Those are the main two really big ones. Vehicles too. Cell phones. Things, internet providers too. Do you really need to spend all this money on, one internet when you can get another one that's essentially the same thing for significantly cheaper, but it's cell phone internet versus a direct line? You need the internet. You might not need that specific internet. So you got to shop around, see what's comparable, do your research. It sucks. You can't just be one click away and done because you're trying to save money. And that's what we're all trying to do here. And that's it. That's a wrap, I guess. So subscribe, notification bell, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Until next time, as always, have a good one.